Film is a medium that transports. All I have to do is pop myself in front of the TV to watch a movie, and I can just enjoy it, whatever place the film takes me to.
Movies have always been an escape. It gives you a whole new world to be in.
I have a rekindled love affair with movies.
Welcome, everyone, to this episode of Real to Real Talk. I am Sergio Barrera, and it is time once again to talk movies. And joining me, as always, are the fantastic Real to Real Talkers, Paul Britton and Susan Chisholm. Team, we're going to get sad today. Yeah. Kind of. Maybe.
I'm not going to cry while we're talking about our topic today, even though the topic is...
Movies. I make no promises.
You make no promises. Movies that made us cry is going to be our topic of discussion. We have done lists like this before, and I think the favorite one that I know we had that I enjoyed was movies that made us pee. And so that just sounds horrible when you don't have context. So what we're going to do is we're going to share in a round robin fashion 5 movies that are tearjerkers for us. And I'll tell you guys, as I was going through my list, it was a little more difficult than I thought it was going to be. I thought this was going to be a lock for me to figure out. And I found that I don't typically cry at movies that others do, but I cry at some that others might not. So I don't know what it was like for you.
Surprise.
Yeah. So how is it for y'all trying to really narrow down movies that you cry at?
It was so hard because I cry all the time.
Oh, you cry all the time.
No, for real though, what it was that I had to go through and like look at my list of movies on Letterboxd and go, I think I cried at that one. Did I? Remember. This one's supposed to be sad, but I don't think I cried. So I had a tough time.
Yeah.
How about you?
For me, it became an exercise of, all right, these are the movies that I watch semi-frequently and still make me cry. So I have to include those. And then figuring out it was kind of harder to narrow it down. I did, yeah. I will say that I do have a couple of honorable mentions. If there's any that you might want to throw in that didn't make your 5, we'll make time for that. Because by the time I did whittle my list down, I think I have a list that I'm happy with, or maybe sad with. So I think what we'll do is Paul will kick us off, and we'll do it like we said, round robin style. Paul will give us his first entry, then Susan, then I, and then we'll rotate through until we've all briefly spoken of the movies that we have brought. So, Paul, I'll kick it over to you to get us started on movies that made us cry. Lay it on us. All right, number 5 on my list is a movie that absolutely nobody should ever cry on. I'm picking, I actually have kind of like crying themes or this is just, it makes me so happy. And I get so emotional at how happy this movie makes me that I cry every time I watch it. And it's at the end, and it's during the reprise of a song. It's the MUPPETS. It's the reboot of the MUPPETS with Amy Adams and what's his face, Siegel. And just every time at the end when they're doing the Life's a Happy song at the end, and then they switch over to Phenomena, and it's just like tears of joy. Oh, wow. Because the Muppets were kind of dead. And look, Gonzo's my favorite, but Muppets in Space just didn't work as a movie. Muppets Treasure Island was meh. The shows other than Pepe the King Prawn were eh. And then this was just a reboot, basically a reboot to save the Muppets, and they did it. And I love the Muppets so much, and to have it be so good, it just makes me cry.
I have fond memories of that film. I'm glad you brought it up. I don't know that I would have thought it was going to end up on this list, but I'm glad it did. At the time that it came out, I'm in the training industry, and I took my team to go see it as a thank you sort of event. And I was stunned at how, because when I first introduced it, I thought, okay, as adults are going to be like, you're going to take us to the Muppets. They were stoked. And so I still love that movie. Walter is like one of my favorite characters.
Yeah.
So
yeah, it's so good.
Fun. Susan, I'm curious, have you seen it?
Nope.
Oh, that makes your
not.
list right now. That makes your list. It's so funny. Yeah.
Do you have an affinity for the Muppets at all?
I don't know. Maybe.
All right. That, yeah, that's tough.
I'm not like totally against them, I guess. If that makes it better. I don't know.
It might be one of those things that like you really have to love. I don't know. Yeah.
Well, I guess we have our next movie assignment. So, all right.
Yay.
So, Susan, we're going to go over to you now. And what was your first entry in today's topic?
So my first entry has one of my favorite actors in it, Ewan McGregor, and the movie I'm talking about is Big Fish.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
I really cried about him. It was just towards the end when it was just like, ugly cry. It really knows what buttons to push. It does, and it does it so well.
Well, then let me suggest that perhaps that might be my next assignment because I haven't seen that. So,
yes, it's a good movie. It's a good movie. It's
I've heard. I have heard that.
Make a note. Somebody write it down.
I'm doing it right now.
Awesome.
That's coming together nicely.
It's what's his face? It's
Ewan McGregor.
Nightmare Before Christmas and
Tim Burton.
Tim Burton. Thank you. Yeah, it's a Tim Burton movie. So.
Yes, it is.
Gotcha, okay.
Yes, it is.
Yeah.
Got it. All right. And so, okay. So far I know I'm jumping in so quick on this, but we've had a happy cry. Is this a happy, sad cry? Where does it land, Susan? I'm curious. Or does that give away too much?
I don't know how to describe it. It's a jerking at the heartstrings. Like,
it's a big time all the feels cry.
Gotcha.
Yes, exactly.
Now I will ask this: because I literally went for movies that tears came, but where does like getting choked up land in this exercise we're doing? Like where you really get moved. Verklempt, yes. Is that really
Zoink.
I think it counts. I mean, I don't know.
There's plenty of movies that do that. So
where you kind of get the sniffles a little bit.
Yeah. You're like. So, all right. Well, I'll jump in with my first entry, and I have to say that of the 5 that I'm bringing, the one that for me really I want to start with is The Shawshank Redemption. This has both a sad cry moment and a feel good, like I'll get emotional just talking about it. And of course, if you've seen Shawshank Redemption, then you know what I'm talking about when I say the sad cry moment. Hopefully, anybody want to guess?
Brooks.
Well, no, Susan got it. So, what was your thought, Paul?
No, she got it. It's fine.
Yeah. The Brooks Hatlin moment, and of course, I really love the last scene, the image on the beach, and then the quotation comes up, and I'm like, I'm just a mess every single time, and tears stream because it's such a beautifully put together movie. So so that's my first entry, and it's funny because I've seen it so many times, and I'll tell you, I still get that at least one tear just streaming down my cheek, like this is so beautiful. All right, I also get very moved by the scene in which he plays music over the intercom. That scene really does over on me. So yeah. All right, well, we are back to Paul. Let's start round 2.
All right, so this one for me is a more classic, like, all right, here's the scene that we've been building up to and you're supposed to cry scene. It's a movie called A Monster Calls. It's from 2016, and there's a boy and his mom has cancer, and sort of he develops an imaginary friend with a monster, or is it an imaginary friend? It's one of those things. And eventually the mom dies, and it's, you know, but it's just, you know, and there's such a build up, and it's just, this movie is, it hits every tone and every beat perfectly, and it's just, like, I've only seen it a couple times. It's not an easy watch, you know, quite frankly, but it's really, really fantastic, and I do highly recommend it.
So it's called A Monster Calls?
Yes.
Got it.
Yep.
I can't say I'm familiar.
Yeah, it's Sigourney Weaver plays the kid's grandma. Felicity Jones plays the mom. Yep. It's good.
Well, I'm gonna have to add that to my Letterboxd eventually. So.
Yeah, Liam Neeson does the voice of the monster. So.
Oh well.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I knew I could suck you in with that.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Right. Well, Susan, I think we're going to jump to you next for your second entry.
I'm going to go in a weird direction. You guys would probably maybe be surprised about it. So a couple of months ago, I was assigned a movie that I was not particularly a fan of. I didn't hate it. I was kind of indifferent. Didn't particularly love it though, but it did make me cry.
Oh.
It did. So.
Because we assigned it to you?
Because, yes. I mean, after, no, I mean, did I say that out loud? Anyway, Shakespeare in Love made me cry.
Did she admit this when she talked about it?
Yes,
I did.
Yes, I did. I remember saying so.
Okay.
Because that almost made my list, Susan. That was going to be one of my 5.
It was one of those things because I remember being so irked at it, like the different things that the problems that I had with it, the different problems that I had with it, and then I was irked because I was like, and it still made me cry. No, I mean it's good. It did exactly what it was trying to do. It did it. So.
Yeah. When the moment when you know they're just not going to be together, it's like, oh, put a knife in me. So.
Yes, it's horrible. It's like, no.
I get moved by love movies. Jeez Louise.
It's love, true love.
Oh man. I guess I should maybe sometimes cry at The Princess Bride, but I don't. So all right. So my next entry as we get to the end of round 2, and I actually put these in an order because I'm seeing how they impact as we move through. Next on my list is Tom Hanks and Denzel Washington, Philadelphia. I can't tell you, having grown up through the years of the discovery of the AIDS, HIV epidemic, and having lived through that time frame in my life, it being such a big aspect of my lifetime. I remember waiting to see this movie for quite a while. And when I finally did, I made the mistake of watching it by myself. And man, I was a blubbering mess throughout. There was just, and it's not just the emotional sad cry, it's also the angry cry at certain points where you just hate the thought of how people are treated and things that are said, and even how people behave when they don't understand something or they don't understand a lifestyle. I mean, Denzel Washington travels this arc in this movie, and of course Tom Hanks as well. And so this movie, to this day, if I watch it, I know what I'm in for, and it does a number on me every time because it's such a beautiful film, and one that hits all those marks to get that reaction, and it does it genuinely. It doesn't pretend or it doesn't manufacture sort of the fake moments. It's just a wonderful movie. So that makes my list. So all right. I like that we get all quiet.
Yeah, I know.
That's
a good movie. I haven't seen that in a long time, like a really long time. Maybe I need to revisit it to see if it'll make me cry. Because
if you do, let me know. I'm curious. So
all
right, Paul. Round number 3 starts with you.
Yeah. Okay. So I've got this one is the Pixar movie that makes everyone cry, and I cry at the scene that everyone else cries at. So this is, it's one of the ones that we've talked about, Inside Out, when Bing Bong is left behind and starts vanishing, forget it. Like every single freaking time. I've seen the movie well over 40, 50 times at this point, and every single time it's just, it's tears, it's sacrifice, it's, you know, it's just, oh, and it's such a good scene. It's such a good payoff. You know, it's lost innocence. It's everything. It's just, you know, everything about that's what's going on in that movie at that moment is just perfect. And bravo, Pixar. You did it again. And again and again and again.
Yeah,
every single time.
That's for sure. All right, very good. So on to Susan we go for round number 3.
So I'm also going with an animated Pixar movie. I'm gonna say Coco.
Yeah.
Because whenever he cries, whenever he starts singing to Grandma Coco, it's just like, I mean, it's just like, oh, it's so much. I mean, to the point where I was watching it with my husband when he saw it for the first time, and he was like, "You didn't tell me it was gonna do that." And I was like, "Well, no, I wanted to see you cry."
That's funny.
I'm terrible,
Oh,
but yeah, no, that was my number 3.
I guess I'm just not human. All right. Well, my third entry is not an animated film. It starred Adrian Brody in his Oscar-winning performance, and I've only seen this movie 3 or 4 times because it's a very difficult watch for me, but one that gets me every single time, and that is the movie The Pianist. The Pianist is, you know, based on a true story, you know, set in World War II during the Nazi occupation, and yeah, it's just there's so much tension that goes throughout this film as his character, you know, is in hiding from the Nazis, and then you see his deterioration throughout the film, and then when he's finally freed, and you just feel this release. But the reason it makes me cry is because it's the release, but it's also that feeling of like, is this really true? Is it really over? You know? And so that movie gets right into, you know, my feelings and emotions and does a number on me. And while I can revisit some of these films quite often, that's not one that, you know, I have to really put myself into a mindset to get to watch it. But the reason I like to rewatch it now and then is because of the brilliance of Adrian Brody as an actor, especially when he made Predators many years later. So he showed his range for sure. So, all right, we're on to round number 4. Paul, make us cry.
So my next one is Pixar movie that makes everyone cry, but I cry at a completely different scene that nobody else cries for, and it's actually Coco, and it's the final song. It's the My Proud Corazon. So I know everybody normally, and as Susan just mentioned, cries during the part where he sings "Remember Me" to his great grandma, and yeah, I mean, it's a touching scene. It just, that doesn't register for me as a cry, but when he's singing to it, like the family's all together and he's singing, and I know it's coming, and I like gird myself, and I'm like, there's no reason to cry during the scene. Like, I just made it through him crying and singing. There's no reason, and then it still happens.
Man, that's the best, when you just can't keep it from happening. So
yeah.
All right. Well, Coco has made it on the list twice. Susan, we'll come to you for yours.
Not surprising.
Okay. Yeah. I mean, it's a good for apparently people who are human who can cry and, you know, want to cry, I guess.
I look, I do want to say, I understand Sergio's issues. Like it hits him at a whole other level. So so.
I'm human. All right, Susan. Lay it on us.
Okay, so this one, I'm kind of, I keep looking at my list and adding and subtracting because I'm like, oh, but I wanted to talk about this one. I want to talk about this one. So this one, I think we've talked about before, and Sergio, I remember you saying you didn't like it particularly, but I am talking about the film adaptation of Les Miserables. I cry every time. It's something about musicals. I mean, I don't know. Maybe it's like because I was on my list. It's like an honorable mention. I have an honorable mention, another musical on my list, but yeah.
Gotcha.
And Ms. always makes me cry.
So so I sure heard you correctly. The musical version is what you're talking about.
Yes.
I don't remember saying that I didn't cry, but I do like that movie. And Eddie Redmayne, he can sing to me any day. So his character, his portrayal, plus he's pretty. So I do like that movie.
That's weird. Maybe I'm thinking of something else. So then I remember we talked about different musicals, and I remember you saying you hated Phantom of the Opera, and you hated that one too. But I thought maybe I'm
despised.
Confused. Yeah.
All right. So
anyway,
Les Miserables. And Hugh Jackman, man. Let me tell you, first time I heard him sing wasn't that movie, but I was like, this guy, Wolverine. So.
Now he's pretty too.
Oh my goodness. All right. Well, my fourth entry into this list, again, this is, you're probably seeing the pattern here of what kind of movies, I love, as you both know, historical epics. And, there's a subgroup of that is World War II related movies. And Schindler's List is, it's the scene where he starts to talk about, what if I had done this? What if I had sold my car? What if I had gotten rid of it? And when he gets to the pin, forget it. He's like, this is 10 more, he says. And oh man. And then Ben Kingsley just amps it up because he after being, one of the oppressed and persecuted, is the one to tell him. And of course, throughout the movie, Oscar Schindler has, been very protective of him. But that he's the one that says to him, you did all you could. Oh man, I'm getting like choked up just thinking about that scene.
No, I know.
So, it fat tears every single time Schindler's List. And that's one I revisit often because it's a wonderful, wonderful film.
And honestly, that didn't make my list because that's one that doesn't make me cry every time. Like I have to be in a certain, like I just, that's one that I'm able to prevent. Like,
gotcha.
It's like, okay, I know it's coming. It's long, so it's been building up,
Yeah. And it has these moments in between that sort of push you to that gets you a little bit toward the edge. I think of the scene of the little girl in the pink dress, against the background of the entire film being in black and white. I mean, it's little moments like that that just sort of cause that choking. And I went in expecting, when it was first released and I first saw it, I was like, I'm ready for anything at this point when it comes to emotions. And I'm not one that's afraid of crying, like not sobbing, but getting teary in a theater. So Schindler's List definitely does it every single time. Yeah. All right. Well, before we get to round 5, I'm curious, are there any movies that were honorable mentions that maybe didn't make the final 5, but that you want to throw in right now? Because I've got a couple.
Yeah. I mean, I'll say like a couple that, and these are ones that have made me cry on occasion, but don't every time. Lincoln, I get every once in a while I get teary at Lincoln, at various points. Like there's different things that'll get me at different times, but there's nothing consistent where it's like I cry every time.
Can you share one? Because I'm curious. Because I love that movie. So
there's 2 different ones that get me sometimes. So when the one guy played by Phoenix, Joaquin Phoenix, when he says, I vote yes, and and it's he's the Democrat and he vote and it's like that every once in a while that he'll hit me. But the scene where Representative Stevens goes into bed with his wife and presents her with the with the amendment. Every once in a while I get a little teared up for that one. I've only seen this one twice, and it made me cry the first time. It didn't make me cry the second time, so that's why I left out. 12 Years a Slave is one.
Oh yeah.
That you know, so I don't know. Maybe if I saw it more, and like, you know, that might just be a, you know, what's my mental state at the moment type of thing.
Sure.
But yeah. So
I think that for me, that movie just numbed me. It was
Yes.
it was hard to react at all. So
yeah. Well, and I think what it was the first time was it just was. It's such an emotional sledgehammer, and like by the end, I was just like, oh, I had to release, you know?
Yeah.
Yeah. So
That makes sense. Susan, what about you? Any honorable mentions?
Yeah, a couple actually. So I mentioned that I had a couple of like musical type. I had Hamilton on my list, and because of, you know, like when she's singing to him after their, you know, the things that happened to their son, and it was just like.
Wait, are you talking about the scene where she sings to him, or where she's singing alone and she's setting everything on fire?
No, I don't remember.
I think
I remember that it was when she's singing that. It's like when she's singing. It's after the son, you know, is killed. It's like kind of, yeah, everything that goes on, and she's like basically telling Hamilton like, we've lost enough of our family. Let's be together again. That made me cry. I don't know. I don't know.
Yeah, no, because I don't know if it's the same song, because there's after he publishes the letter saying, hey, look, I fucked this other woman and here's what went down. That's when she sings the fire song. And that's the song that I don't quite get to tears, but like I'm like right on the edge, because it's like it's so emotional, and she is so good. And the actress who plays that part is going to come up later in the podcast. Hint, hint.
Oh.
So yeah.
Yeah, I mean, maybe it could be potentially both of the spots. Because I know that there was another spot where I teared up, but I was kind of like trying to stay focused on what was going on in the show. So.
Right.
Yeah.
Another honorable mention for me, I guess I just have these two for now, is the movie About Time. Ren, like the last time he gets to see his dad, and he's like, he knows it's time to go, and he's like,
That's right.
I haven't seen that. That's been on my list forever, and I haven't seen it.
Right.
your movie assignment.
Down. Write that
Sir,
down.
it is. I'm already. It's in our group chat.
Paul.
Yeah,
Oh.
that has been so high on my list for
I'm
so
so happy.
long, but like, yeah, I just don't know why I've never put it in. I've never pulled the trigger on it. Yeah, I need to.
I'm trying to think of who introduced me to that one.
I don't know. Actually, what's really weird is that you had made a post about it, and it was like it was when there was a lot of stuff going on, and I think I was either in the middle of quarantine, and I had you know, falling out with somebody that I cared about a lot, and I was like, okay, I'll watch this because it's gonna be fine, because you know Sergio posted it's got to be fine, and then I was like, I shouldn't have watched this. You know, so yeah. So I wanted to go back in time and make sure that you know what I said, but no, yeah, thanks.
Oh man! All right. Well, my honorable mentions include two Clint Eastwood films, $1 Million Baby, and if you haven't seen it, you need to. It's, but yeah,
that's the one that I'm purposely avoiding. Remember?
Really? Okay. Yeah, man. Oof. Because you think you know what it's about, and then you don't. And also Gran Torino. Gran Torino makes an appearance as an honorable mention on my list, Clint Eastwood film. And just, I mean, golly gee, if you haven't seen them and you want a good cry, check them out. And so, yeah. All right. Well, that brings us to round 5 as we figure out what is the movie that made us cry the most, perhaps?
The number one movie to make me cry. I turn into a blubbering mass of pus and tears, and I literally weep. I am telling you, I turn into a crying, weeping, sobbing mess at the end of Dead Poets Society. Every single time at the end of Dead Poets Society, so my son has seen me cry a lot with movies, like, so because Inside Out and Coco and Muppets are movies that he loves to watch, and so are on our heavy rotation. He mentioned that one of his teachers mentioned Dead Poet Society, asked if I had ever seen it, and if it's something that I was like, yeah, okay, and we put it. He was seriously concerned about me, like at the end of it, like, wow. You know, because he always does this thing when we're watching like Coco or Inside Out. He knows the scenes that make me cry, so he'll like start like looking over his shoulder, you know, like, okay, here's when Dad's gonna cry. Like, I'm sobbing at the end of Dead Poet Society every single time.
Wow.
And like, he got concerned. Like, I could tell he wasn't ready for that.
Wow.
So, yeah.
That's a good one.
Dead Poet Society puts me into another level of cry that I just I can't. It's literally just like love and regret and guilt and like, I will never mean that much to anybody type of thing. Like, it's just so, it's so, yeah.
Robin Williams has some of those. Yeah. Man, I could throw in Good Will Hunting, but oh gosh, man. All right, thank you, Paul. Yeah. Susan, let's find out what your last entry is.
Okay, so I'm gonna make a confession. I didn't rank these.
Okay,
no, that's them in order.
That's
of,
all right.
Like you said, like the one that made me cry the most, and I was like, oh shit, we were supposed to do
that. No, I just did.
It was.
I made my list, and I was like, I literally was moving stuff around back and forth, and I was just like, that's too much. Like, I can't.
Like, I went in. I wanted to tell a narrative story. It's not relative by any stretch, because if it were relative, Monster Calls would have been number 2. But no, it's just I wanted to tell a story as I went through. That's how I made my list out of this.
Okay. So the last movie on my list is actually it's an older film. I mean, it's not old. It's like from the 90s with Patrick Swayze, and
Roadhouse.
The movie is Ghost.
Oh, Ghost.
I'm so sad. It makes me cry.
Oh.
Okay, so all of mine are all about like family and lovey stuff.
Yeah. I'm curious, then, out of your 5, which would you say is the one that makes you cry most often?
Well, I guess Coco makes me cry every single time I watch it. Every single time. Even if I like Paul says, even if I steel myself for it, even if I'm like, it's gonna fucking cry. Yeah, and then I just cry.
Gotcha. Okay.
I mean, aside from that, maybe like I haven't seen all of them more than once.
Gotcha. Yeah, that makes sense. I'm not. It's funny because what I'm learning is I'm not typically moved by like love stories and all that. I mean, they're nice and all. You get kind of warm fuzzies, but yeah, I'm kind of envious of people who can cry at movies of that type. So I'm not surprised Ghost made the list. So, all right. Well, I saved this one for the end because not only does it make me cry every single time, not only is it a strange title once I say it, but it does it several times in the last 40 minutes of the movie. And that movie, ladies and gentlemen, I'm gonna wait for the Barcopalooza to finish.
Lily instantly perked up.
Oh, that's funny. All right, so 3, 2, 1. And so that movie, believe it or not, don't laugh at me, Avengers Endgame. Yes. Avengers Endgame was an emotional roller coaster. By the time Infinity War was over, the movie before, I was just stunned into silence, okay? Then, and I said the last 40 minutes, I cry in the early part of the film when Black Widow cries when she's in the office after, she's gotten reports from all of them 5 years later, right? They're still figuring things out. She gets emotional. In the middle of a huge battle scene when Wanda shows up like you finally see her, you took everything from me. I'm like, yes, he did, that motherfucker. I get so emotional when the women all come together. I mean, there's beats throughout that entire last portion of the movie, but oh man, when the scene that begins with, you know, on your left, oh man, the tears start to flow. And I believe it or not, I've seen this movie now maybe 7 or 8 times, and every time I'm close to that blubbery mess you were describing earlier, Paul, because it hits perfectly.
That's interesting because I've watched it, like, we'll say I watched it a dozen times, and it's gotten me like twice.
Oh,
so
really? Okay.
I understand. I understand where you're coming. Like, that's one where it's like I just really have to be like in a really weird mood, but it'll get me every once in a while.
Yeah. Susan, are we still going to make our run through the Marvel movies at some point?
I mean, you said it's going to be a whole like
10 years. Yeah.
It's going to be a minute.
Yeah.
Talking about stuff and I'm like, I have no idea what's going on.
Yeah. Paul, I told her that at some point we'll have to get together and take her through those films and
it'll be Marvel. It'll be the year of Marvel, and we'll just every episode will be that would have been a good thing to do at the start of the pandemic when movies went away. Can we like literally we've been trying to come up with ideas for episodes, and just the episode should have been, okay, we're starting with Iron Man, and then we're going through it
all the way through.
And we're doing a review.
Or maybe what we should do is we'll do a live episode and just go for hours until we're done. But we have to get you to watch the movies first, Susan. So I promise to take you through that.
Yeah, and you know what though, like, to be perfectly honest, it's all of the Marvel movies, and then it's also all of the Harry Potter movies, because I haven't seen any of those all the way through. I don't think.
Oh my goodness, that's right. I forgot you mentioned that.
Yeah.
Jeez.
So
many movies to watch.
See you once or twice a week.
Have to work out a schedule. All right. Well, that is 15 movies that brought tears to our, well, I guess it was COCO twice, so 14 movies that brought tears to our eyes. We want to hear from you. We'd like to hear from you and know what movies make you cry, and you can let us know on Facebook and on Instagram. You can find us at Real to Real Talk on both platforms. Let us know by commenting on our posts. What are your favorite movies that make you cry? And we'll look forward to hearing from you. We might even find out some movies we need to watch as you share with us your thoughts. Also, here on YouTube, thank you so much for watching. We ask that you please click that subscribe button and also click the notification bell so you know when our episodes land. Also, don't forget, click like on this episode and also comment below. Let us know what you're thinking as we continue to produce shows for you, because we have something to celebrate. This is show number 50 of Real to Real Talk. So thank you all for taking this journey with us. And thank you, Paul. Thank you, Susan. It's been a fun ride, and I'm looking at 50 more.
Yeah, I can stretch and I can kick. I'm 50.
Oh, man.
Okay. I was going to say there is something else, too. It's a little bit of a milestone for me on the show. A year ago today was my first guest appearance on Real to Real Talk.
That's right. We talked about that earlier.
Yeah, it was like episode 8 or something, and it was before, you let me talk a lot on the thing.
I think by then you had recorded the voice intro that never got changed, and
no, because you even said, like, the post even said, like, she does a voiceover, and I'm like, I'm so cool, and then I had to talk about the movie, and I was just like, what are words? I get froze like 2 or 3 times in the middle of that. I was like, can we just start that over, please? And you're like, it's not how this works. I'm like,
That's funny. Well, and Paul, you also, you made the show was very different back then. I was having a different guest every week talking about different things they wanted to talk about. And you came on, Paul, as well. And we talked the Matrix movies, if I remember correctly. And
correct.
So, and with Susan, it was Fifth Element. So
correct
movies that we love, and there's Klaus.
I would love to go back and re-record the Fifth Element one where I get to participate, because
we totally should.
Freaking love that movie
should.
so much.
I can never overly talk about it. There's no way.
Absolutely. Okay. Well, there you go. Somebody write that down, because I definitely would like to. It would be an amazing conversation. And so, Susan, yes, on the anniversary of your first appearance, we say thank you. And yeah, I just I can't believe we're on to 50 episodes of the show, and I know that we will continue to have fun as we look forward to the next 50 here on YouTube, also on Podbean and Spotify. So yeah, we're out there and we're doing it, and we're going to keep doing it because we love movies. So we also love our weekly segments, and it's time now for one that we call What the Hell Did I Just Watch? Paul, we'll turn it over to you.
So an interesting thing happened on the way to What the Hell Did I Just Watch? I ended up having to watch 2 movies because the first one just didn't cut the mustard. So you've asked me before, how do you find out these movies? And there's different sources. And I actually have a list. So I have a handwritten list where I'll be listening to a podcast or reading something, reading an article on a movie, and I'll just say, oh, I got to make a note of that movie. That would be a possible good one for this. And so I had that, I had the movie called A Most Violent Year, which is Oscar Isaac. Have you seen it?
Yeah. No, I haven't. It's on my list though.
Move it up. You'll love it.
Okay.
Just not at all appropriate for this segment. So I went back to that list and I was like, well, that's weird. I don't know how that got on there. Scratch that off. And I went literally to the next thing on the list, and it totally fucking fit. It's called Enemy. It's Jake Gyllenhaal. It's from Denis Villeneuve, who definitely deserves to be on this list for other things, I'm sure, but director of Arrival, which I love. I mean, we've spoken about Arrival before, but he made this movie called Enemy, where Jake Gyllenhaal plays a college professor who is watching a movie and finds his doppelganger in a movie, and not an extra, but a sort of a 15th lead type of thing, like the bellhop in a hotel, essentially. And he finds his doppelganger, and he kind of stalks him and searches him out and reaches out to him and wants to meet him. And then the tides turn and it gets really fucking weird. It's already weird. It starts out, you're they don't explain what's going on. So if you go into this movie blind, you just have no idea what's going on. It's Jake Gyllenhaal is playing 2 people, I guess, but you don't know what's going on. And then and then it's crazy. The movie star, although he's not a star, the bit part movie actor guy, insists on taking his girlfriend out on a date. And so Jake Gyllenhaal teacher guy is okay, sure. And then Jake Gyllenhaal teacher guy goes and spends the night with the dude's wife, who's 6 months pregnant. And it's really weird. And then the ending, I can't give away the ending because I do want people to watch this movie because I really liked this movie, okay? I have to stress how much I like this movie. Sergio, I think you would really, really like this movie. Susan, I don't know. Maybe. But Sergio, I really hope you watch this movie at some point. But the last 5 minutes is literally jaw on the floor bonkers. And the last 15 seconds is literally what the fuck just happened?
Oh, man.
Literally,
time into that.
It makes no fucking sense. I don't understand it at all. On any level, even as, movie, film school guy, I'm what? I I've thought about it a lot, and I'm really trying to understand it. I haven't gone and read any like write-ups on it or anything to figure it out. I would much rather have a conversation with somebody. So if anybody out there has seen Enemy, please give me, let us know on on social media, so because I can have a conversation with you about the last 15 seconds because I don't fucking get
Gotcha.
it. So
all right, you might have
and
to
I'm
put
not
that
going
into.
to spoil it. I'm
Yeah,
not
okay.
spoiling it. I'm not.
You might have to
spoiling
put
it.
that into our super serious movie group we're part of and see what people think.
Possibly.
I'd be interested. I
Yeah.
have a suggestion for you, not because I've seen it, Paul, but it might work for this segment simply by virtue of the title, if you're open to a suggestion. I came across a movie today called Feral. It's 2018, Feral. And just when you find the poster, and make sure you find the 2018 version, because that's a title that's been used by a couple of other films. I was like, oh, why do I feel like this might be something for Paul? So
did you watch it then or no?
No, I haven't. I'm going to watch it. But again, just by virtue of the film poster, I thought, oh, okay, that might be something that maybe Paul should check out for his segment. So.
Oh yeah, okay. I saw that post too. I also scratched my head. You know what? It's interesting though, because I did such a long list of horror movies. I was hesitant to put this on my list, but I'll go ahead and do it. It's on my list. We'll get to it eventually.
Excellent. Well, Paul, you get to all the cool stuff eventually, especially in this particular segment. So thank you once again for your weekly contributions on What the Hell Did I Just Watch?
Yeah.
Always a fun time for sure. Which brings us to our next weekly segment. That is Susan Finally Saw. Susan, I'll turn it over to you.
All right. So I had up to this point seen part of this movie. I couldn't make it through the first 15 minutes before I had to turn it off because I was so annoyed with it. But I was in a mood yesterday, so I ended up sitting down, forcing myself. I ended up sitting down and watching the whole movie. And I watched Step Brothers with Will Ferrell and John Riley. It was, I mean, come on. There were parts where I was kind of like, this is terrible. And there were the parts where I was kind of like, no, I don't like this movie. So, I mean, I guess maybe when I gave it a fair chance, it was, there were parts of it that I did like some of the one-liners were just like so off the cuff that it's kind of like, oh,
yeah,
that's funny.
The kettle need a fucking wine mixer.
Oh my God, there's so many small moments in that movie.
Yes, exactly.
Did we just become best friends?
Yes, that was probably my favorite scene where they're.
Yep.
It's funny because by the time Step Brothers came out, I was kind of already done with Will Ferrell, and that one sort of brought me back in a bit. The combination of Will Ferrell and John C. Reilly is either hit or big time miss. And so, yeah, I'm glad you saw it, but I completely understand your thoughts on on that particular film.
I mean, it's maybe that's just not my comedy. Like we talked about it when we talked about Hot Fuzz, because it's just like maybe that's just not my style of comedy.
Yeah.
Okay, it'd be pretty cool if I could find my
figure out what it is.
I mean, I want to laugh too, y'all. I want to do more than watch movies and cry.
So I have a question for you, Susan.
Okay.
This scene when Will Ferrell's brother is with his family and they're doing the a cappella "Sweet Child O' Mine."
Oh my God.
Does that not do anything for you? Honestly, like, just if it doesn't, that's okay.
I mean, it was funny, and but it was like definitely a cringe kind of funny, like.
Oh yeah.
But yeah.
It gets me every time.
It just, yeah, that's kind of where it's out on the scale for me. It was just kind of like, oh God, come on. Please just stop.
Yes, but it's so good. It's so good. It's like, oh my God. It's so insane.
Have we determined, Susan? Oh, I'm sorry, go ahead.
No, it's fine. I'm done.
I totally interrupted you. I apologize. I wanted to ask, have we determined whether you've seen Talladega Nights or not?
I have not.
Okay. I think if you give that one a shot, and Paul, if you disagree, let me go ahead and let us know. But I think if you give that one a shot, it might work. But you know,
it's tough. Here's the thing, like Talladega Nights makes more sense as a movie. Like Step Brothers just doesn't make any fucking sense as a movie.
No, it's crazy.
Like let's just it just doesn't make the narrative is completely fucked and pointless. And so it doesn't make sense as a movie. So if you're going in like wanting a movie, you're going to be disappointed and you're going to be like, what, this is pointless, but it's pointless, you know, whereas Talladega Nights has more, like has at least a narrative to it. But I don't think Talladega Nights, for me, it just doesn't have remotely as many like ridiculous hysterical moments that Step Brothers does. But it's a better movie from a narrative standpoint, but it's not as funny for me. But I don't know.
Yeah. I know it's on your list, Susan, because I've seen it. And so, yeah, that's definitely there. And I want to say that Anchorman is as well. If it isn't, then it should be. So.
Well, Anchorman's Will Ferrell's funniest movie. So.
Oh, absolutely. Beyond. Yeah. Have you seen it, Susan?
No.
Okay. Well. All right.
It's on my list also.
The quest now,
like so many
the
times.
quest now for our friend Susan is finding her type of comedy, and we'll do it via the work of Will Ferrell. And so, oh man. All right. Well, Susan, thank you as always for sharing your journey with us as you continue to increase your scope of films, and hopefully by this time next year, when we get to episode 100, you'll have seen 50 more. So
hopefully more than 50.
What's that?
Like hopefully more than 50s. We've got movie assignments and we've got,
That's true.
Not only This Isn't Funny Saw, but we've got the movie assignments and we've got the different ones we're going to talk about. So
indeed. All right. I think we should all just take a really long vacation and just watch movies every day. So
I'm down for that. I'm down.
I'm so ready.
The entire time.
Indeed. All right. Well, that brings us to the close of another installment of Susan Finally Saw. Thank you so much, Susan. And I am now going to jump into this week's Real-Time Rewind, where I take a moment to remind you about a film that's out there that I need you to make sure you've seen. I said that in the month of November, we're going to talk about movies that are so bad, they're good. And while it's not going to be something like Showgirls this time around, I will tell you that this film stars someone who has yet to come up with a hit. And he's managed to be in movies. In fact, 2 of his films are going to make this list before the end of the month. And that is one, Taylor Kitsch. If you're familiar with Taylor Kitsch, then it's because you watch these movies. If you're not, it's because you've avoided them like most people have. And so my entry this week into Real-Time Rewind is a movie called John Carter, universally panned by everyone. This movie cost upwards of, I want to say it was 150 million. And it only made 184, and so it was an absolute flop in terms of revenue and so forth. But golly gee, when I sat down to watch it, I really enjoyed it. It was ridiculous. The story was just out of, and it's based on a series of books on. The story takes place on Mars, but it's called Barsoom in this book series, and John Carter is the hero of this series, and this movie was based on it. It is a Disney release, if I remember correctly. And like I said, I'd never watched it when it was at the theater. I had no interest because it was, again, universally panned. And then for some reason, I watched it one day, and I was like, I love this film. It's almost what I discovered when I finally saw Hudson Hawk, although I'm not saying it's a Hudson Hawk because that stands on its own. So, so Paul, don't go watch it and say that's not
all right.
So, but yeah, so if you have not yet watched John Carter, I encourage you to give it a try. It's fun. It's an adventure. Again, don't go in expecting, 150 bucks worth of 150 million bucks of, anything. But I like it. And I hope that because of how horrible it was, you might find that you think it's okay as well. So that is this week's Real-Time Rewind. And at this point, we'll take one more opportunity to remind you, you can find us on Facebook. You can also find us on Instagram. Look up Real to Real Talk, and you can see what we're watching, what we're posting about, what we're talking about, and you can join in the conversation with us and let us know What are your favorite films? What are things you're watching? What movies are you embarrassed to admit that you've seen? We're going to watch them. So let us know. Also on YouTube, don't forget, hit that subscribe button and make sure you click on the notification bell so you know when our episodes land. And we love comments, but above all, we love likes. So hit that like button on these episodes. And we look forward to constantly entertaining you week to week here on Reel to Reel Talk. All right, well, it's time for real quick reviews. Paul, I believe you have one for us as we see a kitty butt in the middle of the frame. I'm going to leave that in.
What's funny because
This is Florence.
Klaus on your screen.
Florence?
Florence.
Nice.
She's our outside cat. She only comes in to eat. She hates being inside because she hates the other cats. And if she doesn't get fed right away, it's the only chance I get to love her. So I'm just gonna deal with this.
That's awesome.
Yeah, so I watched a movie that's been on Netflix for a couple weeks. It's called Over the Moon. It's an animated movie. You know, I kind of been slow. I wasn't sure if I was going to watch it or not. There wasn't anything else that was a new release recently. So I was like, you know what, I'm going to go ahead and do this one. So it's called Over the Moon. The interesting thing about this is, for you Disney animation film buffs out there, is it's the first movie from the Glen Keane animation studios. And so Glen Keane is a legend in Disney animation, and he was the lead animator for Ariel. He was the lead animator for The Beast and Beauty and the Beast, the lead animator for Aladdin. He did John Silver in Treasure Planet. He did Tarzan. Yeah, I mean, like, if it was going to require a really lot of complex animation, Glen Keane did it. And for fans of Disney animation, and for especially fans of the Renaissance period of Disney animation, it doesn't happen without Glen Keane. And so he has his own animation studio now, and he's sorry. He has his own animation studio now, and he's doing and he directed this one, and Over the Moon. It's about a little girl who grows up. Her mom passes away in China, and but her mom got her to believe in you know, sort of this Chinese myth about the moon, where a woman was turned immortal and then exiled out into the moon, and she waits for her true love to return. And so, like, her father is starting to you know, is falling in love with somebody else, and so she wants to reunite the woman on the moon with her true love, so that she can prove to her father, look, you know, true love exists, and you should just be with, you know, mom. And it's a really touching story. It's nice. It's cute. There are the animation is pretty standard computer animation. I wasn't a huge fan of the animation, except for in the first like 15 minutes, they do like sort of like the flashback where they explain the myth. And the animation during the flashback where they explain the myth is just such classic Glen Keane animation, and so beautiful and so amazing. If you are a fan of Disney animation, I highly, highly, highly recommend Over the Moon, just for that first 15 minutes. But also, if you're a fan of Hamilton, you get to hear, what's her name? You get to hear Philippa Sue, who is Eliza Hamilton, sing the part of Chang'e, who is the woman in the moon. And I mean, she belts out a couple songs that are just like, wow, she has a voice on her. And yeah, so it's pretty good. Tacos wise, this one is going to get, I think we'll go with 3.5. You know, because I like animation. I probably, if I wasn't a huge Glen Keane fan, it just would be like right in the middle 3. Good for kids. It's definitely kid heavy, kid friendly. So yeah, there you go.
And Paul, maybe I missed you, but where can we find Over the Moon?
Netflix. It's Netflix. Yeah, gotcha. It's been out for a couple weeks now. yeah, I do recommend it, especially if you have kids. So Susan, your kids might like Over the Moon.
Excellent. All right. Well, it has been a pet-filled episode of Real to Real Talk here, because now Klaus has made an appearance here on my lap.
Hopefully by Friday, or by the next episode, my computer will be fixed and I won't have to depend on my phone.
And that's where we'll end it, right? That's fantastic. We're nothing if not resilient here at Real to Real Talk, and we are real. That's for sure. So, guys, it's been another fun episode.
Absolutely.
Susan, Paul, thanks for 50 episodes, for getting me this far, getting us this far. And let's plan to keep doing this. In fact, pretty soon, I hope that we'll have an episode, like we said, on The Fifth Element, and we'll revisit that film together. So, all right. Well, for all of you watching us out on YouTube, we thank you so much for joining us. It's always fun to do this for you. And we look forward to doing this for a long time. So, as we always say to you, you're awesome, you're amazing, and the world's a better place because you are in it. We'll see you next time on Real to Real Talk.
Yay.